Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Live from Lavender Town. Um, so, Joanna's at work right now, but we wanted to just make sure that we're still getting stuff out, and so also I wanted to kind of talk about the state of the game as it is right now, and I'm been making a lot of videos lately, so this probably won't come out for a little while, but a lot of things happened since the last time we were really uploading content. But anyway, while I talk about whatever, I'm going to go ahead and open up 50 Cosmic Eclipse packs. That's what you're all here for. And but just as a teaser, I'll open up this trade lock team up pack for, possible Alolan Exeggutor, Rowlet. Goodness. There's like maybe one or two other things we could really want out of that, and that was not one of them. All right. Well, with that being done, yeah, I really fell behind. I wasn't opening up anything off camera, so I didn't get anything out of Cosmic Eclipse. Everything's gonna be like new here for me. I'm familiar with a lot of the cards. Just I've been keeping up, but not actually playing. Anyway, Draw Energy isn't going to see a ton of play. I'm sure well, at this point, it already hasn't seen a ton of play. I would have said it's not going to see a ton of play, and then this set, and then the subsequent Sword and Shield have already dropped. Rebel Clash is on its way. Yeah. Well, Professor Oak's setup. There's some value there. Oh, nice! Got that Mimikyu. I'm hoping to get a number of these cards. Yeah, this Mimikyu, of course, it's got Impersonation. Discards a supporter card from your hand. If you do, use the effect of that card as the effect of this attack. It's unique. It's interesting. Mischievous Hands. Choose two of your opponent's Pokemon and put 2 damage counters on each of them. Just to spread out some damage. You'd have to have a lot of pieces for a spread deck, and I think there are just better ones out there. And then there's that Embor. But yeah, well, that's already a really cool hit. Or like a pseudo hit. I don't know if those kind of operate for people in the same wavelength as break cards. I think there's a ton of value in some of those cards. Some of the, specifically like the tag team trainers. Some of the interesting stuff that's coming out of this set. And then a reverse Professor Oak setup, so that's pretty cool. Some of these other packs that you're seeing on my screen, I'm probably gonna look to trade them. So there's that with those. Let's see here. Ends Resolve, nice. That's a handy card. And Misty and Lorelei. I forgot what this one does again. Search your deck for up to 3 water energy cards available and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. When you play it, you may discard 5 other cards from your hand, and if you do, during this Pokemon, your water Pokemon can use their GX attacks, even if you've already used your GX attack. Wow. This is a very situational card, and there are no new water GXs to come out, so the only way that would really start to see a lot of play would be if other cards came out that made existing water GXs super useful, or at least their water GX attacks, which in truth, at least Mewtwo and Mew can use them. Lily's Full Force, draw 4 cards, but then at the end of your turn, if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, you have to shuffle cards back in your deck until you have 2. So that won't see a ton. Hey, there's that Excadrill. This one's got 11th Hour Tackle, which does 30 damage, and if there are 3 fewer cards in your deck, it does 150 more damage. It could be a ton of fun. But you put yourself in a really vulnerable position trying to deck out with it. I can almost see it working better in Expanded because it's easier to get through your deck quickly. And there's ways to protect yourself in Expanded from like being completely decked out if you do. And then Drill Bazooka does 120, but you discard the top 4 cards of your deck. Obviously, that's designed to help you get through your deck quicker to be able to use that first attack there. That's a deck revolves around that first attack for sure with Excadrill. 120 isn't terrible for a stage 2, but it's not over the top, Yeah, so I'm happy I've gotten a couple of those special pseudo full arts. Oh, another Misty and Lorelei, another Lily's Full Force. And then we've got Swoopats, and for a rare... Hey, we got that full, or not full art, but that Sylvalite GX. This card is going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome for a while. A lot of people have compared it to like the Zoroark GX, and I would say that's pretty accurate. Disc Reload is the ability that everybody wants it for. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand. It's basically Octillery, but of course this Pokemon, unlike Octillery, it's a 2 prize Pokemon, but it's got 210 HP, and it does have, you can attack with it. Brave Buddies for a DCE, which we don't have in Standard anymore, but for 2 colorless energies it does 50, and if you played a supporter from your hand during this turn, it does 70 more. You're gonna play a supporter almost every hand, so you're gonna almost always be doing 120. It's just like Zoroark GX. 120 is not amazing, we just said that for a stage 1, but it's something that you can do with this Pokemon. And I mean, there are ways to get energy onto it, like of course Welder. I mean, that'd be the most no nonsense one. I guess you could tech it into a, this is going to be the card you would tech into a deck, you know, and then do like a Ditto Prism Star. And if you're struggling to draw, you get this card out, you get some draw support, and if you're struggling and you have no other options to hit, you use a Welder in a fire deck, you know, when you're using Reshizard. Or if you're still playing Pikarom and that's still seeing some definite play. Some definite play from Pikarom still happening. You know, you can use Tapu Koko Prism Star, get a lightning onto it, play Thunder Mountain, and suddenly you're hitting, you know. So I mean, it's not it's definitely, that's going to be its niche, and it's a really awesome card. I'm super happy I got it. Silver Knight GX, if your opponent's active Pokemon is an Ultra Beast that is knocked out, that's going to be less and less useful as time goes on, because Ultra Beasts are going to be less and less prevalent in the format. That card, if it had come out a year ago, man, it would have been a game changer for sure. And I mean, it's still a really good card. Mallow and Lana, yes, another card I wanted to pick up. This card is gonna see some play. Switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. When you play this card, you may discard 2 other cards from your hand, and if you do, heal 120 damage from the Pokemon you move to your bench. Really super handy card. Super awesome. And then we got another one of those Mimikyus. That's awesome. And Oricorio GX. So this one, its ability, Dance of Tribute once during your turn. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn, you may draw 3 cards. You can't use more than 1 Dance of Tribute ability each turn. So it is some draw support, but it's very situational draw support. Not only can you not, I mean, it's basically, it's Oranguru ability, but with extra steps. You can only, well, you can draw 3 cards. Oranguru draws until you have 3, so at least you are drawing 3 cards, but you need to have been knocked out. And if you're using V or VMAX Pokemon or GX or Tag Team GX Pokemon, which the majority of decks are doing, and this one would be too, at least in Oricorio's case, you're not going to be able to use that ability very often. You can't take too many knockouts before the game ends. It's also got Razor Ring, and that's not a good attack at all, so I'm not even going to talk about it. Strafe GX, 100 damage, switch it with one of your bench Pokemon. Again, not so great. But it's got some draw support, and I think that there's probably niche decks that could actually make that work. And can make that work well as draw support. I feel like no matter how you slice it, we've got better draw support floating around. Man, no trainers out of this one. Unless we get a reverse. Nope. Well, that's a bummer. And some Flora. Okay. Obviously, really wanting to get ADP out of this. That's a big one. I'd love to get the new Necrozma, or Ultra Necrozma. That card is amazing. It's just phenomenal. There's definite supporters I want out of this. Um, Man, I really hope I get some hits here. And we've already gotten some hits, you know? We've gotten 3 of those, like, pseudo... Very rare... Oh, this Lycanroc. What does it do again? Boiling Blood. If your opponent has any GX or EX in play, this Pokemon's attacks cost 3 energy less. So you can just do Voltage Claw, which does 60. You can do Voltage Claw without any... And people are still... Most decks are playing GX, so for most decks you go up against, you can do with no energy attached 60 damage guaranteed, and 70 more if they have any special energy, which in Standard, there's not a ton, but that new... not Rainbow Energy, but Prism Energy, just a spectacular... Aurora Energy, I'm sorry, Aurora Energy, just a spectacular card, so that will definitely increase the likelihood that Lycanroc would be playable. You could probably make more use of it in Expanded, but then there's other things floating around too, so... This is some... It's Guzzlord. It's always about destroying cards off the top of your deck, off the top of your opponent's deck. Taking an extra prize is always nice, though. And then Swoobat. Some really pretty artwork on this set. I feel like for the last set, for Sun and Moon, I think this set just got overshadowed a lot by what was to come. And I mean, there's Walrein. When you... Oh yeah, Lana's Fishing Rod. Shuffle a Pokemon and a tool card from your discard pile into your deck. I feel like Normal Rod is... Or Ordinary Rod. It's gonna probably kind of overshadow that. It's interesting. Cosmic Eclipse is, like... For the last set, there's some phenomenal cards. There's Take Call. Super great. Beastite... Ultra Beasts do 10 more damage. I mean, that's very situational. You have to use tag teams for this, but a lot of decks still are, and being able to search for 2 automatically with the draw support that we have is amazing. And there's Mimikyu with Shadow Box. It's way better than, like, Evolutions was. And that was the last set. I mean, I loved Evolutions from the sense of, like, being a collector and wanting to relive the base set. But there was hardly anything playable at all even at that time that came out of Evolutions. You would definitely rock this Clay with your Excadrill to just discard. There's Dusknoir, and there's a Alolan Persian GX. Smugface is its ability, prevents all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon by your opponent's tag team Pokemon and Ultra Beast, and by your opponent's Pokemon that have any special energy attached to them. Man, I remember watching PTCG Radio cover this, and he made a really good point. Special energy, I mean, now there's a little bit more with Aurora Energy, like I mentioned, but it's still not what it was. People are not playing a lot. There's not double colorless energy anymore in Standard. So it's really limited how many people are rocking special energy. Then you've got Ultra Beasts. And pretty much, I mean, you still see that Buzzwole, especially Baby Buzzwole specifically, floating around. Some other things. Ultra Necrozma is making a comeback. Both the GX and the new regular Ultra Necrozma. But other than that, it's like Blacephalon, GX, you know? And then tag teams, of course, are still tons of tag teams. Most decks, or most of the meta is composed of tag teams. So, like, that's your biggest advantage from Smugface. It's really cool that it covers all of this. It's just like tag teams and Ultra Beasts. Oh, and by these two, it's just like, let's just add more. Somebody really, really loved Alolan Persian GX, and I don't know why. It's really derpy looking. Regular Persian looks way cooler. Sorry, not sorry. Otherwise, it's got Claw Slash, which if we still had double colorless, would actually be useful, potentially, as like a desperation attack, but right now it's like you don't want to be using that. And then Stalking Claws GX does 120 to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Not any good. Mostly this is for the ability, and you could use Claw Slash to get some damage out while you're basically stopping your opponent from dealing damage to you. It's a really good card. It really honestly is. We've gotten a few really good ones out of this. I'm also wanting to get Reshiram and Zekrom. I really do. I know that we all thought it was gonna be like meta changing, and then it really wasn't. Oh, that Pikachu art is so pretty. But I still want it, and there's still ways to make good decks out of it. And I feel like those two is kind of like, all right, first Zekrom makes his debut in there's Professor and Dragonium Z makes his debut in team up rather. Oh, is this the new Nuzzle Raichu? Yeah. You could totally play this in expanded in Nuzzle decks, which I have such a huge soft spot for Nuzzle decks. I really, really do. I love them. What was I? Oh yeah, so team up, right? We get Zekrom along with Pikachu, and then Unbroken Bonds, right? We get Reshiram with Charizard, and then finally the two Reshiram and Zekrom team up in Cosmic Eclipse to get like their best cards since the Plasma era for sure. It's really cool to see them get a little bit of love like that. I know it's not like they're the most neglected legendaries, but still. Also Arceus. Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia, probably the most meta-relevant Arceus has ever been. Yes, another Mallow and Lana. Sweet. That's awesome. Do I have a couple of those already? I think I do. Yep, I did already have one, so now I'm up to 3. Really happy about that. And 4 Guzma and Hala. Oh my god. That is amazing. That is so amazing. Oh, that's such a good card. That's such a phenomenal card. What it does, search your deck for a stadium card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then, shuffle your deck. When you play this card, you may discard 2 other cards from your hand, and if you do, you may also search for a tool and a special energy card. Super handy. Super duper handy. You've got plenty of cards in your hand, but not the ones you need. Now you can get the ones you do need. Oh, that's awesome. That's so awesome. There's so many good uses for that. Oh, I'm over the moon. I am thrilled. Beyond thrilled right now. That is my first Guzma and Hala. I don't even have a regular Guzma and Hala. I have a full art now. Oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Oh, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Yo! Rainbow Rare, Naganadel, and Guzzlord GX. This card is definitely playable. There are decks you can make with this card. Its ability, Violent Appetite. Of course, it's Guzzlord. It's gotta have something like that. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may discard a Pokemon from your hand, and if you deal, heal 60 damage from this Pokemon. So if you're trying to wall with this, and people are not going to be rocking Fairy now that it's dead in the format, which is really sad, people are not going to be super likely to get one-hit KOs on you. Not only is Fairy going away, but Steel is so powerful right now with Zacian V, with Metal Saucer. Nobody wants to play Fairy. This is huge, actually. And I think this card actually could get better over time as Fairy goes away. Because the next rotation, most Fairy Pokemon are going to be gone. Not Gardevoir and Sylveon tag team, but they're not going to get any help. Which is really sad. It really, really is. It does have Jet Pierce. You need a Psychic and a Darkness, and then one other energy to do 180 if you wanted to do attacks, but I feel like you're using this more to stall, basically. Chaotic Order GX is the GX attack, and this one does. You turn all of your prize cards face up, and they remain face up the rest of the game if you have at least an extra Psychic energy and an extra Dark energy attached to it. So if you've already got this right here, take 2 prize cards. That's just great. That's just so great. I know it's not a world-beating card, but that card sees play for a reason. There's a lot to like there. There's a lot to like. The issue is getting the energy on. Malamar for the psychic. And expanded, there's ways to get the dark energy on, but yeah. Will, there's a couple cards that are coin flippy right now that would really make use of Will, but it sucks to use your supporter on coin flips. It really does. You don't want to end up doing that unless you really have to. Yeah. So a lot has changed. The biggest change right now, and I'm going to be talking about it a lot, it's the thing that's made me the most happy. Wow, we're not even halfway through. We've already hit some amazing pulls. Just flat out phenomenal. Really making me happy right now. One of the biggest changes to the format is the complete rework of weakness. And I'm still sad about Fairy going away. I really, like, it's an entire typing just gone. But I am really happy that the way that weakness is being renegotiated, finally fighting, I feel like, is getting policed like it's needed to. There's some draw from Roxy. That could be really fun. Oh, and the Full Art Wishy-Washy GX. I'd forgotten that they did this reprint. Not reprint, but like they did another Wishy-Washy GX. This one has School Storm. It does 20 damage times each of your Wishy-Washy and Wishy-Washy GX in play. You're maxing out at 120 if you fill your entire bench out, if you're playing in Standard, where you don't have Skyfield. I guess you could do some really creative things in Expanded with Skyfield. You could cap out at essentially 160 damage. No, 180, right? No, it is 160. 1 plus 8. Yeah, it's 160, but I feel like it should be more. Because, oh, I know, I see where my math is wrong. You're dropping 3 more GX on your bench and then 2 regulars. And Expanded, you get 2 more. Yeah, 160 damage. Okay. I mean, I guess against fire, which is so weak right now, but being weak to electric sucks. And that's a bummer. Water really took a hit being weak to electric, given what Pikarom is still doing in the format. Massive Catch GX. Look at the top 12 of your deck, cards of your deck, and put any number of basic Pokemon you find there onto your bench. Given that we've lost a lot of, like, we've lost Bridget and things, I could see that, but are you going to play this card just for the GX attack? And it's not like there's nothing to get basics. Not a huge fan of that, I'm going to be honest. I could see some use, some situational use, but yeah, I don't want to risk taking it into games where I just am going to suck. Roller Skater, not super wild about it. You have to discard energy. If you're playing a really energy-heavy deck, which most decks aren't, you're going to get to draw 4, which is nice. Nothing lets you draw 4 without some serious issues. But otherwise, you're drawing 2, and drawing 2 is not awesome when there's Cynthia and now Professor's Research and an Expanded Sycamore and Magnolia and all those. Weavile, Nasty Plot, allows you to search for your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand, which is super nice. That's super great. It's on a stage 1, so that kind of sucks, but that's nice. Weavile never fails to find itself at the center of people's decks. Whenever a Weavile comes out, I swear, it's always useful. It's kind of like a Rangaroo in that way. Rangaroo has had a couple dud cards, but it's had a couple fantastic ones too. And it's really lucky that way because not every Pokemon gets that fortunate. I mean, I think about like Dragonite during Sun and Moon era. Every single Dragonite card that came out was just outside of the meta, looking in. It was almost good enough, but not quite. Lantern is a card too it's always decent, but it's like they have filled up the set with good cards, and they're like, oh, I guess we could do, like, what's a Pokemon that we could throw some dumpy stuff on that we didn't do anything with? Oh yeah, let's put, you may look at the top card of your opponent's deck as an ability. That's cool. What are we going to put it on? Lantern. Let's make a Lantern card for that. I get why. It's like, oh, it's got that light you can see onto the opponent's thing. It's just... And then having them shuffle their deck. Like, I get it. I get what this is for. And if you can do Swirling Flow, you're not doing much damage, but if you don't like what's on the top of their deck, you do Swirling Flow, and then you change it. But there's enough draw support that you would really have to find a way to get people to be in a position where they're not getting a supporter and they're stuck. They have to be really stuck for that to work. I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced, Gandalf. Oh man, I can't wait to open up Sword and Shield and start to just see those cards and also play around with those energies. By the time this is up, though, Sword and Shield will have been in full swing in the game. Oh, there's Solgaleo and Lunala. Solgaleo. I like both pronunciations. Cosmic Burn, it is 230 damage, but it's 4 energy. 3 of them have to be psychic. You can't use it during your next turn. We've always had ways around it, but you need to get the energy out. So you need to have some Malamars up and running to really start to hit the ground running with this. If it was 2 psychic and a double colorless, it would be a lot easier to come by. You still wouldn't have double colorless. You could in expanded. But you could, in theory, have this kind of teched into a Mewtwo tag team Reshizard deck where you have a Welder, you could detach 2 fire for the double colorless, and then you're looking at a psychic. So turn 2, you're hitting 230 in that scenario, but that's not possible now. You're not going to probably have this up and running. If you can get your Inkay evolved into Malamar, you need to have 2 Inkay evolved into Malamar. You need to get really lucky to be able to turn 2 230 with this. Otherwise, it's got Light of the Protector GX, which is easier to pull off. It's 200 damage for 2 Psychic and a colorless, so you might be doing that turn 2 if you got a Malamar Inkay and you've played an energy your first turn and your second. If you played Lily's Full Force from your hand during this turn, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage, done to each of your Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. But I don't want to play Lily's Full Force, really. It's not that good of a card. Draw 4 cards, and then you have to discard or shuffle cards back into your deck at the end of your turn. It's almost good enough, but not quite. And I'm sad that for how awesome Solgaleo and Lunala were, I'm sad they didn't get a better card. I think that the attacks are so close to being good enough that... Oh, it's a Lost March Whimsicott. I haven't been paying attention to that because I just don't with Lost March. If you do, that's great. It's not me. I did get Lily's Pokéknowledge. That's pretty awesome. That's definitely playable. But if that Solgaleo and Lunala had gotten Stoutland, I'll put a pin in that. Arf Arf Bark. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon and is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, then you may also discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool energy disruption, but it's a stage 2. That's a lot to ask for. Overrun, as Overrun does, 110 and 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It's cool, it's fine. It's not world beating, and you're not hitting anything for super effective damage. But what I was talking about with Solgaleo and Lunala, it needed an ability. It needed an ability to be better. And preferably that ability would maybe involve some sort of energy acceleration. Unfortunately, didn't have it. There's my 4th Mallow and Lunala. That's awesome. Got my playset. I'm done. I'm happy. Super happy. Victini with Victory Heal. Allows you to heal 20 damage from one of your benched Pokemon. It's healing. It's just a little healing. You could get a couple of those out and just start healing. Oh, you can only use it once. Never mind. So having multiple of those isn't going to do you any good. I take that back. It's fine. The TCG is really starting to have some more things with healing, and that's a great thing because it's an element of the game that's been sorely lacking. There have been things that can hit hard, and there have been things that can stall. We've had a little bit of a lull in stall decks. There have been some other kind of trickier decks, disruption decks, but I mean, like, finally we're getting a little more mill decking. It's been a while. Misty and Lorelei reverse. I feel like, oh, I thought I was going to get something there. But as far as like true healing, it really hasn't been, because you would use healing cards, but they'd be to support smashing decks. They'd be they'd be a backup in case you started to take some hits you didn't want to be taking. Balelba and Bryson, man, this is, I'm surprised we didn't get one until now. This is for milling, man. This is straight up milling. And if you're playing Excadrill, it's another way to discard cards. You may also discard 3 other cards from your hand, and then, by doing so, you make each player discard their bench Pokemon until they have 3 bench Pokemon. It's interesting. It's definitely, there'll be things that people do with that in future decks too that'll make it really useful. And then the base thing it does, without even discarding from your hand, both players discard from their deck. So that's pretty cool. Steelix. This Steelix has Thumping Fall. It does 50 damage times, you discard any number of Pokemon with a retreat cost of exactly 4 from your hand. This does 50 damage for each card you discarded in this way. You really need to find Pokemon with 4 retreat cost and find a way to get them into your hand to make that really work well. But you could. And with the new tricks for Steel Pokemon, I could see it. I could see it as a tech. With, like, Ditto Prism Star. I don't know what we're going to do when we lose Ditto Prism Star, because it fills the gap for a lot of people where you would otherwise be putting in basics that you don't want to clog your deck up with. The other attack, Iron Tail, Steel and 3 colorless, does 100 damage times the amount of coin flips where you get heads until you get tails. Having a situation where you have a 50% chance of doing no damage at all is a situation I don't ever want to be in. And there's Stoutland with Arf Arf Bark again. So that's cool. Yeah. Another Lily's Doll. How many do I have of these? Only 2. Interesting. There's Heliolisk. Another card that really has not gotten a ton of love in the TCG. I mean, we are closing in on the end here. Didn't quite hit everything I wanted to. I mean, I can't complain about what we did get. Oh, there's Flygon GX. So this Flygon, it's got Dusty Defense, which as long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, all of your Pokemon take 30 less damage from your opponent's attacks, which is kind of nice. Especially if you don't have Bench Barrier. It's also got Desert Hurricane, and you need 3 Fighting Energy. If there is any Stadium card in play, besides the 120 it already does base, which it's fine for Stage 2, not great. But this attack does 120 more damage. Then you discard that Stadium. So you want to have Stadiums if you're going to make this work. And doing 240 is pretty solid for 3 Fighting Energy. It would be more solid if there were better ways to accelerate Fighting Energy, but there are tools that make you do more damage with fighting Pokemon, Dancing Prism Star, Karate Belt, that sort of thing. Sonic Edge GX does 220 for the same cost. It isn't affected, it's just 220. And it doesn't, if your opponent did something that prevents damage, it cuts right through it, so that's cool. That's cooler, Rooney. Not a world-beating card. Not one of the two best GXs from this deck, which I still have yet to get. Man, I would love to... Ooh, Chaotic Swell. How many of these do I have? A couple. Really want to get more of those. Yes! Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia! Was just saying, like, oh, man. This is such an awesome card. And I wish Dragon Pokemon got more love. The one good aspect of removing Fairy Pokemon from the format is that Dragon Pokemon get better. Because the fact is, Dragon Pokemon don't have a ton of advantages. This one, for a Water, Steel, and a Colorless Energy, you're doing Ultimate Ray, which is 150. Then you search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. So awesome to be able to accelerate energy like that. There are ways to get that Steel energy on. Metal Saucer is a great example. If you want to go that route, maybe even just as attack, you can get Swampert in with Washout, I think it's called, and then you can just move water energy around. There are ways to get this energy on here, and that's awesome. Altered Creation GX, for the rest of this game, your Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, which is awesome. You're going to use that right away. If you're going to use that, you are going to use that right as soon as you can. It's going to be the first attack you're going to use. If this Pokemon has at least an extra water energy attached to it, then besides the Steel, when your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out by damage from those attacks, take an extra prize card. You're going to want that if you're going to be using Altered Creation. You're going to desperately, desperately want that. And that will just set you up for the game in profoundly awesome ways. I agreed with PTCG Radio. I was skeptical of how much utility this would find because people don't want to blow an attack on something like that. But given Zacian V, it's absolutely playable. I am now fully thrilled with this opening. We did a spectacular job. If I get anything else, it's just a cherry on top at this point. Another Bellelba and Bryson, man, that's pretty sweet. And a Golurk. Excuse me. I was going to say about resistances a long time ago, or typing. Fighting got weaker, which is, thank God, it needed to happen. Do I have full set of Lilies? Nope, one more, that's right. Volcarona GX. Not a bad card. Flaming Shot is its ability. Once during your turn, you may discard a fire energy from your hand, and if you do, put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. It's basically, it's a worse version of Decidueye GX, but it's not a big deal. Doing this is not a big deal. You're a stage 1 for 1, which is way better than Decidueye. We don't have Forest of Growing Plants, is that what it's called? Which was just insane, and then it got banned before I started really playing the game, which is really sad. I would have loved to have gotten to play a little bit with that. But, basically, being able to get this, turn 2, you already have your Larvesta out there, you evolve it into Volcarona. It's not hard to get fire energy out of the discard with Fire Crystal anymore, and to get it back out onto your Pokemon with Welder. And then there's also, you know, searching for fire energy with Fiery Furnace? Oven? I can't remember. I'm so sorry. I'm a bad TCG player. This is what being rusty and out of the game is like. So there's ways to get that fire energy. So many ways to get fire energy right now. This is easy to pay for. You could really do this kind of damage spread with this. Backfire does 160 for 2 fire and a colorless, and put 2 fire energy attached to this Pokemon back into your hand, which is kind of nice. It's kind of inconvenient. 160 isn't profound, but it's more than 120 for a stage 1, which we were just talking about. And if you think your Pokemon is going to get knocked out next turn, getting the energy back into your hand is great. Massive Heatwave GX for a fire energy. Discarded energy from each of your opponent's Pokemon, just some disruption. I think it's a nice card. I really do. I think that there's ways to make it work. So I'm not going to complain about that pull at all. Not remotely. Yeah. so another clay, that's cool. Another lilies, we got our full play set. So we got a couple play sets this video, that's sweet. And then Mimikyu with Shadow Box. I'm not super wild about that. It's great ability lock, but there's better ability lock. And it's not restricted to only GXs with damage counters on them. If it was one or the other, that'd be a lot better. It'd be way better. But it's both. And that limits how good it is. Gallied. Oh yeah, this is the dual type. That's a cool way to do dual type. But it's ability lock dual type, whereas the old school dual type, where the Pokemon just by default was both types, better. The last time I remember ability-based dual typing, like that where he was, the ability says he's fighting and psychic as long as he's in play, is, yeah, Flareon, Jolteon, Vaporeon. That would make your Pokemon be specific types. Man, boy, a year ago again, back when Evolution Eevee was still legal. Oh, Torkoal! Fire Fling. For a Fire Energy, put 4 Fire Energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. That's cool retrieval, but it's not like we don't have tricks already for that. If you discarded a lot, though, and needed it back, I guess. It's a lot to ask for a 110 HP Pokemon that's going to get probably knocked out in one turn. Kindle for 3 Fire Energy, it does 100 damage, and you discard an energy from this Pokemon, and then discard an energy from your opponent's Pokemon. It's pretty cool. I don't think it's going to be super playable. There's another Wishy-Washy. I can't complain about getting GXs, but man, I'd rather get any other GX than that one. Well, or a Choreo maybe. They're both not super hot, to be completely honest. No hate. I love those Pokemon. I love all Pokemon. Really, you're just mocking me now. Another Oricorio GX. And then, that's probably it. I mean, we might get another one of those kind of cool full art sort of cards. I don't think we're getting another ultra rare. Another Professor Oak setup. That's a cool card. Searching for 3 basic Pokemon of different types and putting them on your bench. But it's situational to decks where you're going to actually have 3 different types. And specifically, the type of decks that you're going to be using this with probably are going to have Ditto Prism Star in it. And then it's going to be super useful. Yeah. Man, still no regular Guzma and Hala. There's our first Cynthia and Caitlyn. Put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand. You can't choose Cynthia and Caitlyn or a card you discarded with the effect of this card, which explains what's coming next. When you play it, you discard another card from your hand and then draw 3 cards. If you didn't draw 3 cards, this card would be unilaterally worthless. It's nice to have because we don't have a lot of options in Standard to get supporters out of the discard. In Expanded, that card is garbage. But in Standard, I could see it having a little bit of utility. I really could. Maybe not a ton, but some. Alright. We're down to the last 3 here, so we're hoping. There's this fun kind of synergy with this card, where you could use this with that. I gave it so much crap, but that Lantern where you can see what's on the top of your opponent's deck, and then you could use this ability to put that card on the bottom of their deck, which is just hilarious to me. Okay, we're down to 2 here. Oh man, I just want another Guzma and a Hala. Like, please and thank you. Why? Oh, Chaotic Swell, yes. That's actually our 3rd. First reverse. Oh, Mega Lopunny and Jigglypuff, the other best GX card in the set. So awesome. Jumping Balloon. Let's talk about this. Alright, let's talk about this. And we got the full art, of course. Oh, I'm so happy. Jumping Balloon does 60 damage for 3 colorless energy, plus 60 more damage for each of your opponent's Pokemon GX and EX in play. If this card could use Super Boost Energy or triple... there's another triple energy. if it could use those energies, because triple acceleration energy, super boost energy is 4, but it can't use either. If it could, this would be so over the top good. It would be just shatteringly good. But as it is, there's so many easy ways to get this out there. GXs are all over the place. God, this plays so well with Mewtwo and Mew tag team. Oh, that's such an awesome, phenomenally awesome card. Puffy Smasher's GX for 1 colorless energy. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. If you have at least 4 extra energy attached as well, you do 200 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, thus knocking out a D-Denny. Or another kind of techie sort of bench card. Well, that was so stunningly good. There's nothing else I really need. This definitely isn't going to be the only time I open this setup either. I do want another Guzma and Hala. There are things I need, but nothing else that I expect to get out of this opening. When I do another one of these, I'm still going to be shooting for a lot of these same cards. Another Megalo Bunny and Jigglypuff. More Guzma and Hala for sure. Still didn't get any of the Ultra Necrozma. I thought that was this set. I was pretty certain that they're in this set. And the one I want the most is the Stone Trio ADP, which is just spectacular. And we didn't get anything out of that last pull. But that's okay, because we got stunning hits. And we got something out of the second to last opening. This was just incredible. It's such an awesome opening. I'm so happy to be back doing this more regularly now. And you can 100% expect to see a new video within a few days of this one. So stay tuned for more. Stay tuned for more with Joanna and more discussion. And more discussion about weakness and resistance. I kept bringing it up. I didn't get to go and do it. I promise next video I am 100% going to be digging into that. But for now, ta-ta. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Live from Lavender Town, and we'll see y'all next time.